All right, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Leticia Webb. I'm the Education Curator here at Churchill County Museum. Today we get to hear about something that is truly shaping the future of our youth and strengthening the community, the 4-H program here in Fallon, Nevada. For those who may not be familiar, 4-H is a youth development program that empowers young people with skills, confidence, and leadership skills to thrive in life. Whether it's in school, on the farm, or in the lab, or at the head of business. Here in Fallon, we are lucky enough to have a strong, active 4-H FFA community, thanks in large to volunteers, local families, and of course the youth who participate with such passion and commitment. Today we get to hear from a handful of students who are actively involved. Macady attends Oasis Academy in the 4-H program. They are part of the Rabbit, Sheep, Livestock Judging, Beef Club, to name a few. Zachary is a high school FFA member. He has raising and showing steers since the age of 10. Allie is a 4th generation FFA member. Her experiences include raising club lambs, showing swine, and competing in career development events and leadership development events. Taylor is a junior at Oasis Academy. Taylor is currently the president for Oasis Academy FFA, as well as the zone treasurer for Nevada FFA Western Zone. Please join me in welcoming these extraordinary students.
Thank you so much. Hi, my name is Macady Bogdanowicz. I show beef, sheep, and rabbits, and I'm here to tell you how important in FFA and 4-H it is to keep a record book. Here's one of my record books that I've made. At first, you keep a picture page. It includes you and your animal, or one of your animals. This is me with my steer last year. You write your own essay. It's your project story. I want to share one of my paragraphs from my project story. I named my heifer Carmen because I love the movie The Three Amigos, and that is the girl in the movie's name. My steers were named after the movie also. I had named one Lucky Day and the other Dusty Bottoms. When Dusty was really dirty, I would call him Poopy Bottoms. Carmen and Lucky were already kind of friendly. That was good because it made it a lot easier to halter break them. Dusty, on the other hand, took a little more work to gentle down. Then you have your actual project story. You keep an actual record of all the things. My first page is my animal inventory. You keep track of how many animals you have, how much they cost, and what breed they are. You have your feed page. You keep track of how much feed you buy, how many pounds, how much it costs, and what animal it goes to. Then you have your veterinary care. This helps you keep track of your withdrawal time, how much medication, and how much medication you buy or how much medication you give an animal. Then you have your expense summary, how much that animal, just how much that animal went for and how much it cost. Then you have your breeding project page. You keep track of your breeding animals. For example, I want to read one of the goals I wanted. I plan to return to Dennis Lee, the breeder who I bought her from, and will turn her out to get bred this spring. Then I have my steer grid chart, how much it grew, how much it had grown until the end at the show. And then I have my signature page. The signature page is your signature and your leaders. This makes sure that you kept an accurate record and were at as many meetings as you needed to be at. And then I have a whole nother project record book for all my sheep. Then you have your picture page. It's at the very end. For example, I want to share a picture with you. This is me with one of my sheep. His name was Snoop Dogg because he was a black natty. My lambs love, and I said, my lambs love their new barn. The barn, I am just giving them good morning loves. I was giving in a kiss in the morning. It's so important to keep a project record book so you can stay on track. I am open to questions. I have my record book up that table if you want to come look at it. Is there any questions? Yes.
When you turn your record book in, is it judged? And if it's judged, who judges it?
Yes, it's judged. There's actually a competition in 4-H of the project record book, how well you've kept a track of your records. It's judged by whoever is assigned to judge it. Any more questions?
So for somebody who's never done this kind of stuff, I know the weight of the animals is always very important.
Yes.
How, just logistically, how do you go about, is there a big scale somewhere? How does that work?
So, for example, steers, you want to start off at like somewhere around 700.
No, but how do you physically weigh them?
Oh, they have like this big scale for steers. Like, it's just a big scale.
Just a big scale. Okay.
And at the auction, there's also scales and stuff. And then for sheep, they have smaller scales. Yes.
Do you weigh as you go? And then what is your deadline to weigh, to make weight?
Yes, you weigh as you go, and your deadline is at the 4-H weigh-in.
And when is that, before the 4-H
Yes,
show?
before the 4-H show.
The day before?
Before CCGLS. Yes.
How do you handle sale day? Are you attached, and how does that day go for you?
Yeah, you get attached. For example, my steer, Lucky, I got one more slobbery kiss before I sold him, but it was okay because I know that that's what they are raised for, and that's what their next job is going to be. Yes.
So I actually kind of had a related question. So I understand that a lot of these animals are, I thought all of the animals got sold at the end of this, but then you talked about wanting to, it sounded like, take one of your heifers and breed her this year.
Yes.
So are you allowed to keep some of them and like roll them into next year? Is that how that works?
Yes. For example, like if you have a heifer and you turn her out to pasture to go get bred, and she has a calf, you can bring her to the next show and show her as a cow-calf pair. So those ones don't have to get shown if you plan on breeding them.
Okay, so you just don't show them if you're going to keep them. Is that how that works then?
No, you can still show them in like a breeding class.
Okay.
Any more questions? Well, thank you guys. I'll turn it over to Zac.
All right, hello guys, how are we doing? Good. Hello, my name is Zac Lewis. I'm a proud high school FFA member, and I'm excited for everything for this upcoming year that has in store for me. Before I joined FFA, I was actively involved in 4-H, which helped me spark my passion for agriculture and gave me a solid foundation in animal care and leadership. Since the age of 10, I've been raising and showing steers over the years, and I've had the opportunity to compete in many shows, including Fallon, Reno, Carson, and Yerington. Each show has taught me valuable lessons, and not just about livestock, but about the responsibility, hard work, and dedication. I'm looking forward to build on those experiences through FFA competitions this year and continuing to grow both personally and professionally in the field of agriculture. Today, I'd like to talk a little about the cost of raising steers. Raising cattle is rewarding but expensive. One of the first major costs is the animal itself. I'm fortunate enough to live on a small farm where I raise and produce my own animals, but depending on the breed, age, and market conditions of other people, the cost can vary from $900 to $4,500. After the intentional price, feed is one of the biggest ongoing expenses. Cattle require a consistent diet that typically include hay, grain, pasture, feed, etc. That on average, feed costs from the range of $1.50 to $3 per day per animal. Over the course of a year, that adds up to roughly $900 to $1,500 per steer, and that's just about an estimate. There are veterinary care, routine vaccinations, health checks, and other associated treatments for illness and injury that are essential to maintaining a healthy herd. These veterinary costs can range from $50 to $300 per animal annually, depending on the region and condition of the herd. course. On top of all that, there are additional expenses like fencing, water systems, labor, equipment, shelter, and all these sort of things. These overhead costs can significantly increase the total investment required to raise cattle. When you put it all together, the total cost of raising one steer for a year can range anywhere from $1,850 to over $6,300. And that's not including land cost, and this requires careful planning, strong management, and a true passion for the work. And in the end, raising cattle is more than just a financial commitment. It's a lifestyle. It teaches responsibility, practice, and the value of hard work. And for me, it's been an incredible, rewarding journey. Thank you guys. Any questions? Yes. Yeah, of course.
I was gonna ask why you got into steer in particular. Is it just because that's what your family was raising?
For me, like as a younger kid, about the age of 9, I started like raising pigs and stuff. It was a fun thing for me. But then one of my friends, he showed steers, and I thought it was really cool, and that really got me involved into showing steers. Yeah. Yeah.
Would you say, coming from a beef industry, that the beef program in your 4-H, in your FFA programs, how would you say from difficult to not difficult it is to be in the beef club?
In the beef club. Like getting into there or just like being a part of it?
You pick.
Being a part of it or being in it. For example, like raising a steer, it takes a lot because it's not just feeding and letting them sit. You're not only doing that, but you're also training the steer to be able to be ready for show day, which takes a lot of time out of your life. And it's on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd probably rate it like a 8, pretty hard. Any other questions? Yep.
What type of things go into the training when you're training the steer?
Well, there's a lot of different methods of training a steer, but for me, we halter break them. So it takes a lot at the beginning. You know, your steer's not as perfect. You're gonna put a halter on them. They're not gonna be the greatest thing ever, unless you're lucky. And it takes quite a bit of time just to be able to get the halter on them and be able to walk them. But for the first stages, it's just time to a fence, let them get used to it. And then after that point, you start being able to walk it and starting to do these other things like how to use a stick on the steer and just be able to throw those things in there as you go on. And it's a long process, but yeah, that's what it is. Any other questions? Yes.
Is your family, your parents or your grandparents, are they ranchers? Is that kind of where?
Yes. From our family, my dad owns a farm, my grandpa owns a farm. Before that, we had our great grandpa Lewis who owned a bunch of land. They're all farmers. We originate from that. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. 100%. Yeah.
So you said you started off in 4-H and then shifted into FFA.
Yeah.
For those of us who don't know the differences in detail, what's the difference between the two organizations?
The 4-H is more of like a starting, and then the FFA is like an ongoing and more of like a further like career in some sort of way.
I can add on to that
There we go.
if that's
Perfect.
okay. So FFA is part of the high school curriculum as well as some middle school chapters. So it's also a class as well as a club. So they call them intracurricular activities, whereas 4-H is outside the school and is not connected to your
There you go.
classes.
Yep. Basically it is. Any other further questions?
Do you pay attention at all to the politics of the cattle industry? I was just doing some math when you said $6,000 a year for
Yeah, it could get into
one. And so I figured that I spend $780 a year on meat for myself. And you're hearing all the time now how expensive meat is. Is that something that you pay attention to already?
Yes, we do pay attention to that.
Yeah.
It's a crazy cost, 100%.
That's good.
Yeah. Yeah, well, dude.
Is okay. The beef industry right now is its highest crescendo that it has been in almost its entire traditional sales price. How does your family feel about growing into a larger herd in the future because of the price?
Like, how do we feel like ongoing from on this point? Well, we think it's going to get a little worse from here, but honestly, it's something that we like to do in our family, so we would love to keep it going 100%. Any other questions? Great, thank you guys.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Allie Fait, and I'm the Churchill County FFA as well as the Western Zone president for the year. I am a 4th generation FFA member, and I strive to educate the community about agriculture and what FFA is. So I'm involved in a number of activities and supervised agriculture experiences like raising homegrown livestock with my family and showing pigs. I also compete in a bunch of the fun FFA career development event and leadership development events through the FFA program. I was here last week and gave my speech, which was part of that, so I can go to nationals for it. But part of my supervised agriculture experience is showing at the Churchill County Junior Livestock Show and Sale. And so I am a partner in my family's clubland business called High Sierra Livestock. And I would like to tell the story of kind of how my business started, where we've kind of come from, and how it has helped me learn a bunch of different life skills. So when I was 9 years old, I jumped right into 4-H and started showing pigs. I had my heart set on raising my own animal that I came from my farm, that I owned a mom, and it was born on the property, so I could show it year-round. The only problem you might ask, I couldn't get my mom on board with raising pigs. She told me there is no way we are breeding pigs, it's just too hard. So I remember going to my great uncle Rich's house when he was putting on a sale for pigs, and just happened to remember seeing that he also had breeding sheep there to be sold. So I briefly mentioned to him that I wanted to show in a breeding class and that I wanted to show sheep, but I wasn't quite sure what to do because we had just done pigs and put in all the effort for pigs. He helped me come up with the cost and the money to buy my first breeding ewe at the age of 10. And I had also bought my own next pig buddies with the money that I had earned from my first year. With that being said, I had my first ewe at my house, and I was talking to my mom and my grandma, and we all agreed that one breeding ewe was not going to be enough to start a business. Next thing I knew, we were expanding our herd. We had purchased high-quality sheep from reputable breeders all over the state of Nevada and California, and we bred them to top sires throughout the country using artificial insemination, not just naturally breeding. And now, almost 9 years later, I personally own 7 ewes of my own and are continuing to have offspring from them that I run with my family's over 50 head. Over the years, we have gone to many different sheep events and sales in the state of California. We were even crazy enough to get up and at 3 a.m. and travel to California to show our sheep and then come back and bring them home. In December, when going over the summit is kind of scary, and when nobody wants to get up because it's cold, but that's just what we did to market our sheep. So the background of my family's business means a lot to me. Without the opportunity to show my own sheep, I wouldn't have learned the valuable lessons that I hold today. So for example, I've learned how to organize a specific feed ration for each individual show animal. I've learned hard work no matter what time of day it is. I've learned to be determined and stay out in the barn until 5 a.m. when we have ewes that are lambing and need some help, even when I have school the next morning or I had school the day before. And I've also learned how to have compassion for working these animals when they don't want to work with us and when they want to be difficult. Those are just from showing livestock. On the breeding side of things, homegrown projects differ from regular market products because it's continuous, it's year-round. We have the moms, we have to breed them, we have to do all the herd health care throughout the year, rather than just the time frame of the show. With that being said, I think that it takes a lot of passion and a lot of hard work and determination in these life skills that we have to be what others call crazy enough to have the animals year-round. I want to trade it for the world. Through this, I've learned how to budget not only my time, but also my financial records and my money. So I've learned how to market my projects through social media, as well as talking to other businesses and people through raising livestock and going to California. I've made connections with sheep breeders and just regular people and people like me that love showing livestock all throughout the country, and I think that that's just amazing. I've also learned how to keep good financial records of my money, as well as veterinary health records, and just daily records. Oh, that one has a snotty nose, or that one was coughing, let's keep an eye on her in case we need to treat her. Or when we're lambing, for instance, be like, oh, she had a hard time milking, maybe we need to help her next year, give her some more grain or some dietary supplements that'll help her bring more milk in so that she can raise her babies on her own. So the skills and the life lessons I have learned from starting my business with my family will continue to help me throughout my life, and not just now. No matter what career, either within agriculture or outside of agriculture, that I choose to pursue. For instance, I talked about raising my sheep and breeding through artificial insemination. Without learning the specific genetics behind that, I wouldn't have found my passion for wanting to go into embryology and genetics and study those things in school. Like I said, I wanted to study that, and I want to be able to use my knowledge and my experiences to give back to the show community and other individuals that show livestock, because this industry raised me, and I'd love to give back to it and help that. Is there any questions? Yes.
So your sheep, are they meat sheep? Are they wool sheep? And if they're wool sheep, do you also like shear them, or can you tell me more about that?
We specifically raise meat sheep, so we raise them for the purpose of going to market. We do shear them at least twice a year, sometimes 3 with the changes of different season, because that wool stool does get heavy, and it keeps them healthy, keeps them from getting super dirty or any manges and mites and all those sorts of things. Yes?
I spin yarn, so I want to know what kind of sheep you have, like what the breed is, and what do you do with the wool?
So we raise Hampshire and Suffolk Cross. We just have found that it's harder to, let me back up. We keep our sheep in pasture or in corrals, and so with that, they get pretty dirty. So every time we try and shear it, it would cost more to clean the wool, and we wouldn't have a very high yield grade to be able to take it anywhere to receive any sort of profit. So we just back it up and take it to the dump. Yes. Is there any other questions? Yes.
Does your family, the way your setup is, are you able to turn your sheep out into pasture for them to have that lifestyle the city-fied people think that they need?
Yes, where my grandma lives on Airport Road, and she has, I'm not sure the acreage, but there's 5 checks of pasture, and so they're able to have enough space to run around and free graze and frolic like sheep do. Yes, we did have to, it was originally barbed wire fence, but sheep can get through that and it caused issues, so we put up like chicken wire, I guess, around the pen so that they can't get through and get hurt, and it also keeps coyotes from coming in and attacking our sheep. Yes.
I've got 2 questions, completely unrelated. So at one point you said you're monitoring the individual animal's diet. Is that how do you do that? So you've got a herd of 50 sheep.
Yes.
How do you specifically say this one gets this one gets that?
For the show side of things, I raise around 3 to 4 market lambs.
Right.
And so with that, I put them all in their each individual pen, and I can monitor their weight and feel for how fat they are. And I can be like, okay, this one needs less of the high protein, or this one needs more protein, to try and get them to where they're at a market ready standpoint. On the breeding side of things, when we turn them out onto the pasture, they're kind of self-regulating themselves. They'll eat when they're hungry, They won't eat when they're not hungry. They'll drink water when they're thirsty. They won't drink when they're thirsty. When they're inside of the corrals, we try and figure about half a flake of hay per head, or if it's colder in the winter months, they'll get about a flake. That way they can still maintain their body. And it's one of those things where you have to watch the animals consistently. If there's a lot of feed left over in the feeder when you go to feed at night, probably need to cut back on the hay just a little bit. If there's not a lot left over and they act hungry, maybe they need a little bit more. So it's one of those things where the individual rations is more for the showing side of thing and making sure that they're market ready, and breeding with the 50 head is a little more just making sure that we're watching the herd and updating daily as to what they might need.
Okay, so my second question is your combined herd with you and your folks, is it big enough that you work with dogs too, or how do you handle just a bunch of sheep who are all want to go different places?
Yes, that's a great question. We purchased a cattle dog that was kind of scared of cattle, and he actually helps us bring them in from the pasture. He'll go around them and gather them up for us. But we also I steal my little brother. He has a dirt bike. He'll ride around and chase them too, so we're not all having to run. But when we do have to bring those sheep in, it's a whole family event. My grandma, my grandpa, me, my mom, my brother, we all go out together and bring the sheep in. And we found ways that have kind of made it easier on us through trial and error. Sometimes it is quick and it goes right away. Sometimes you have that one sheep that just really does not want to go inside the corral. And it just takes a minute for us to gather, deep breath, and try a new route to try and get them into the corral. Yes.
So far you guys have talked about raising either sheep or pigs or cattle. Is that depending on your age, or can you start out in either one? Do you have to do one before the other? What's the sequence there?
That is all personal choice. As long as your 4-H requires to be 9 years of age to show sheep, goats, steers, or pigs. If individuals wanted to show chickens and rabbits, they can start in clover buds at age 5. And that is just for concern that if little 5-year-olds holding onto a steer, that outweighs it by a lot, and that way they don't get hurt. I personally started out with pigs and then chose I wanted to do sheep. Macady started out with rabbits and chickens when she was little, and worked her way onto the steers and the sheep. So it's all just personal choice and what we find works best for us and what we have a passion for.
So if you wanted to run something different, something a little bit more exotic, emus, for instance, is that something that the programs would support, or would you get laughed out of the program because you want these big birds? Does that ever work its way into?
So far, Fallon hasn't had any sort of thing like that I'm aware of. I know that there's other places across the country and even in other countries that they do have exotic shows, I guess is what you'd say. So it kind of is just where there's a demand for it. We haven't seen a demand here in Churchill County, but I think if there was enough people that wanted to be like, yes, let's show emus and let's start getting it going, that if there was enough people and they were willing to help and work with everybody, that could be something possibly in the future. Just never know. So, yes.
A two-part. Will a mother sheep bloat? And if so, how do you keep them from bloating?
Yes, sheep are ruminants, which means they have one stomach with 4 different compartments. And so with that, they rely on hay as their refuge to clear out their system and help them from getting gas buildup. Sometimes that doesn't always work, and the bloat does cause an issue, just like in sheep, it does just like cattle. We put in bloat blocks that are specially designed for sheep and goats, and they are put in their pens, so and in their pastures as well. And so they can come up to it. It's like a mineral lick, and if they start getting a tummy ache, they'll go and be attracted to the minerals that are in that and then help with the anti-bloat. Does that answer your question? Yes. Is there any other questions? Thank you guys, I appreciate it.
Good morning. My name is Taylor Sawersby. I am the Oasis FFA chapter president, and I am currently serving as the Nevada Western Zone treasurer. I've been involved in agriculture my whole life, particularly the show industry. My parents actually met in senior round robins, so you can say agriculture really does run in my blood. My experiences inspired me to write a speech about the livestock industry for my FFA prepared public speaking speech this year, so I'd like to share that with you all today. The rights and welfare of livestock show animals. Many of my fondest childhood memories stem from livestock shows. I remember being a peewee and how I wanted to be one of the senior showmen who looked so good and professional with their animals. I began showing hogs and peewee showmanship at the age of 2 and started raising hogs at 9 years old. I've continued to raise, breed, and sell different livestock animals, and I believe much of the person I am today is because of these experiences. These experiences prepared me for life from a young age, and one of the key things I've learned is caring for the welfare of something other than myself, of an animal that relies on me for life. The stock show industry has been under attack for many years concerning the welfare and rights of the animals involved. There's a historical debate about animal rights versus animal welfare, and what are the right choices for the best interests of these livestock animals. These animals cannot speak for themselves, so we, as stewards, must find and make the best decisions for them. Animal rights means animals, like humans, have interests that cannot be sacrificed or traded away just because it might benefit others. Animal rights means that animals are not ours to use for food, clothing, entertainment, or experimentation. On the other hand, animal welfare can be described as adhering to the health and happiness of animals. Both of these have the interests of animals in mind, but different approaches to their use. So what is the right path to take regarding animals' well-being? The best approach for all parties involved is to continue to use animals for their purposes, but also to maintain and ensure animal welfare through rules and regulations such as the Animal Welfare Act. PETA, in particular, argues several points against the livestock show industry, the first of which is the confinement aspect of raising livestock. From an ex-FFA member turned animal rights activist, I hadn't quite grasped the captivity concept yet of raising livestock. However, my rebuttal is Project Animals get as much space as possible with the exhibitors' facilities. These animals need room for comfortable living and for the exhibitor and their project to bond and train for the show. Some exhibitors use friends' properties or sometimes even school barns if they don't have adequate space. These animals are let outside regularly with room to move, not just for training, but for their enjoyment. Another argument made is that livestock shows make people view animals as nothing more than a way to make money. They argue that exhibitors are taught not to view animals as beings with personalities and feelings, when the opposite is true. Through training many different animals, I've had to work with their very different personalities and find ways to work and train that animal best for them individually. I've interacted with many different animals and had to get to know them to work efficiently. Many a winter and spring I've sat in pig and cattle pens and fed treats to make friends and bond with them. It sometimes can make the auction and slaughter process hard, but all of that is done humanely. Activists argue that slaughtering animals is violent, and in raising the animals for production, exhibitors become violent. However, everything in the slaughter process for these shows is done humanely and is out of the exhibitor's hands. After the auction, the animal is sold to the buyer, and the show handles the slaughter as an organization without exhibitor influence. Shows seek reputable and reliable livestock processing facilities for after auctions, and buyers can pick from these options as well as live pickup. In many slaughter facilities, especially large-scale productions, measures have been taken to make this process easier for the animals. A renowned advocate for animal welfare and the humane slaughter process is Dr. Temple Grandin, an autistic woman who revolutionized the slaughter process when she walked through it herself to view the animal's perspective. By doing so, she was able to modify the slaughter process to ease the animals going through it. Grandin is a key part of humane animal handling, and she has released many books on it. She's even applauded by PETA President and CEO Ingrid Newkirk, who admires her work in the field of humane animal slaughter. This highlights how important animal handling is and how it's the most key aspect of humans raising animals. A key issue that animal rights advocates have with the show industry is the raising of these animals for meat and showing off key assets in the show ring. One thing exhibitors do to prep for the ring is groom or fit their animals. Common fitting practices are clipping, combing, and putting certain products on the animal's hair and hide. There are other, more inhumane ways some may fit as well, and these include painting the animal's hides, breaking of tails, tubing, and use of foreign substances or drugs to alter appearance. Shows have rules against inhumane fitting, and people who violate these rules are subject to expulsion from that show. The National Show Ring Code of Ethics outlines very clearly that anyone found in violation is to be ousted from the show, and shows have many outlets for people to report anything suspicious. On top of these procedures, many shows, especially at the national level, drug test animals with urine, saliva, or blood tests to ensure the proper care of the animal. The Animal Welfare Act, through the United States Department of Agriculture, is the only federal law in the United States that regulates the treatment of animals in research, teaching, testing, exhibition, transport, and by dealers. This means that not only do shows have welfare enforcing rules, but the federal government does as well. Activists also argue that, rather than learning about the ways in which pigs and cows are similar to us, how they care for their young, and how they're social and smart, kids are encouraged to fatten them up to become bacon or told to turn them into good breeders. In reality, exhibitors learn the ins and outs of how their animals work, how they interact with other animals, and how to care for them. I've been to many livestock meetings in my life, each of which prioritizes the welfare of animals and teaches us how to bond with them, how to feed them properly, and how to give them great lives. My project leaders have all been very knowledgeable people who have helped me hand design feed rations for my animals, helped me solve problems with my animals, and helped me assure their well-being. I've also been to many quality assurance trainings in my life that teach exhibitors young and old how to properly care for their animals and teach us how our animals work. These trainings are required annually for anyone to show, so every exhibitor has the current knowledge and qualification to take care of their animal. Some argue that 4-H and FFA create a moral and emotional disconnect for the youth in them, but in reality, there are so many lessons and activities within them that teach us to care for animals even more. One example of this is the Veterinary Medicine Career Development event in FFA, which teaches members to administer medical care to animals, don't worry, they're stuffed animals, in a practice setting to ensure their health and well-being. Vet Med also teaches how to identify illnesses and ailments in animals so people can be more aware of animal health needs. Youth in 4-H and FFA also go through nutrition programs to learn how to feed their animals, and when these rations are created with high-quality feed, they are hand-fed to the animals. This process, though it can be tiresome, ensures that the exhibitor is interacting with their animal morning and night and analyzing its nutritive and health needs. To conclude, animal welfare is the most important part of the show industry, and by continuing to follow rules and laws put in place for the protection of animal well-being, we can ensure the stock show industry continues to inspire youth such as myself to be involved in agriculture. The livestock show industry is an American tradition, and we, in the agriculture community, can prepare kids for the world and possible careers by helping it thrive. My heart lies with the show ring, and if we continue programs like FFA and 4-H to teach proper animal handling, we can keep shows going for generations to come. Thank you. Does anyone have questions? Yes.
One of the things that I've noticed with working with you guys in the past is that this strikes me as very much a leadership program. You guys are learning how to become leaders. You're starting from 5, 6-year-olds with rabbits and chickens, and getting to the point where you're getting into the agribusiness end of it and all of that. So, what would you say is the best aspect of leadership that you personally have taken away from your experience with this organization?
Well, I would definitely say that going into FFA, I looked at it as just a different uniform to show my livestock in. But when I got into FFA, I learned that there was so much. And my first step into the world of leadership in FFA was by competing in the FFA Creed Leadership Development event my freshman year, which really taught me how leadership and public speaking can go into agriculture. And from that, I've become a much better public speaker, and as well as holding different offices on not only the chapter but the zone level. Yes.
So, in the world of competition, what is the number one lesson you learn in competition with your friends?
I would say definitely healthy competition. I know that sometimes you put a lot of work into your animal and they work perfect for you at home, but then you get into the show ring, they want nothing to do with it. But sometimes it can be the opposite. Sometimes you have an animal that does not want to work with you and you bring him into the ring and he'll act like he's been doing this his whole life. But I've definitely learned how to win and lose gracefully, because sometimes it really comes down to judge preference. So sometimes I may think I did great, but a judge might not. And definitely in competition with my friends, me and a group of friends, we all show hogs together, every year, I'm gonna beat you, no, I'm gonna beat you. So by going through this, it really helps us learn how to win and lose gracefully and really how the world works, because you're not always gonna win.
That's a good answer.
Thank you, that's excellent.
Any other questions? Thank you.